In the swirling sands of the East, a story of ambition, betrayal, and empire is about to unfold. This is the saga of a man who clawed his way from obscurity to the very pinnacle of power, a man known to history as Philip the Arab. Our story begins not in Rome, but in the rugged province of Arabia Petraea, modern-day Syria. In the year 204 AD, a boy named Marcus Julius Philippus was born. His father was a local sheikh, a man of some standing, but hardly a player on the world stage. Young Philip was an outsider, a provincial, seemingly destined for a life far from the gilded halls of the Palatine Hill. But fate, and a ruthless ambition, had other plans. Philip joined the Roman army, the one true path to power for a man of his background. He was clever, he was brave, and he was patient. He climbed the ranks, legion by legion, campaign by campaign. He saw the chaos of the 3rd century firsthand, emperors rising and falling like dominoes, civil wars tearing the empire apart, and barbarian hordes pressing on every frontier. He learned the brutal lessons of survival in a world where a single mistake could mean death. His moment arrived in the East, during the Persian campaign of the young Emperor Gordian III. Gordian was a mere teenager, a puppet emperor controlled by his powerful Praetorian prefect, Timotheus. Timotheus was a brilliant general, and under his command, the Romans pushed deep into Mesopotamia, reclaiming lost territories. Philip served under him, watching, learning, and waiting. Then disaster struck, or was it opportunity? Timotheus suddenly died. The official cause was disease, but whispers of poison slithered through the Roman camp. And who was there to step into the void, to take command of the powerful Praetorian Guard? None other than Philip. In a heartbeat, he went from a senior officer to the second most powerful man in the empire. The only person standing between him and the throne was the boy emperor, Gordian III. The Roman army was deep in enemy territory, their supply lines stretched thin, the campaign stalled. Morale plummeted, the soldiers, far from home and facing starvation, grew restless. They blamed the young, inexperienced Gordian, but who was whispering in their ears, fanning the flames of discontent? Who was positioning himself as the strong, experienced leader they needed? What happened next is shrouded in mystery and accusation. Near the city of Zytha, the Roman army was in retreat, and it was there that the young Emperor Gordian III died. The historian Zosimus claims Philip orchestrated the entire affair, cutting off the army's supplies to incite a mutiny and then having Gordian murdered. Philip's own version of the story, the one he sent back to the Roman Senate, was that Gordian fell in battle against the Persians. A heroic end for a young emperor, but which story is true? A tragic battlefield death, or a cold-blooded coup d'etat deep in the desert? One thing is certain. With Gordian dead, the soldiers, prompted and primed, immediately proclaimed Philip as their new Augustus. The boy from Syria, the desert sheikh's son, was now emperor of Rome. But seizing power is one thing, holding it is another. Philip knew he had to act fast. He quickly made a peace treaty with the Persian king, Shapur I. It was a humiliating treaty for Rome. He paid a massive indemnity, 500,000 gold denarii, and abandoned all the territory they had just won. His enemies called it a shameful surrender, proof of his weakness. But for Philip, it was a calculated risk. He couldn't afford a long war in the East. His real battle was waiting for him in Rome. He had to secure his throne. He raced back to the capital, his hands metaphorically stained with the blood of his predecessor. The Senate, ever pragmatic and wary of the legions, had little choice but to confirm him. Philip the Arab was now the undisputed master of the Roman world. He immediately began a massive propaganda campaign to legitimize his rule. He deified the young Gordian, giving him the state funeral of a hero, publicly mourning the very man he may have had killed. He put his wife, Marcia Ottocilia Severa, on the coins with the title of Augusta, and named his young son, also named Philip, as Caesar and heir. He was building a dynasty. But Philip knew that titles and ceremonies weren't enough. He needed to win the hearts of the people, and he had the perfect opportunity. The year 248 AD was approaching, a momentous date. It marked 1,000 years since the legendary founding of Rome by Romulus. An entire millennium, Philip decided to throw the biggest party the world had ever seen, the Ludi Secularis, the secular games. He poured the imperial treasury into the celebration. For days, the city of Rome was a whirlwind of spectacle. Gladiators fought to the death in the Colosseum. Exotic animals from the farthest reaches of the empire, hippos, rhinos, elephants, and 1,000 pairs of gladiators, were paraded and then slaughtered in the arena for the public's amusement. There were theatrical performances, chariot races, and massive feasts. He was showing the people that under his rule, the empire was strong, prosperous, and blessed by the gods. It was a masterstroke of public relations, a spectacle designed to make everyone forget the questionable way he had come to power. During this time, something else remarkable occurred. Christian writers of the era, like Eusebius, claimed that Philip was the first Christian emperor. Is it possible? He was certainly tolerant of Christians, ending the persecutions they had faced under previous rulers. Some even suggest his Arabian origins may have exposed him to monotheistic ideas. Was his reign the secret dawn of a Christian Roman Empire, decades before Constantine? Or was this simply a pragmatic policy to ensure peace within his diverse realm? The truth remains a tantalizing historical puzzle. But while Rome celebrated, the foundations of the empire were cracking. The peace Philip had bought from the Persians didn't last. The Goths and other tribes surged across the Danube frontier, sacking cities and terrorizing the populace. The legions stationed there felt abandoned. They were fighting and dying while the emperor threw lavish parties in the capital. Resentment festered. Soon, the inevitable happened. The legions on the Danube, disgusted with Philip's perceived weakness, proclaimed their own emperor, a general named Pacation. At almost the same time, another rebellion erupted in the east, led by a man named Jotapion. Philip's empire was threatening to splinter, just as it had for so many emperors before him. Panic seized Philip. The sources say he stood before the Senate and offered to resign, a dramatic gesture of despair. He saw his dream of a stable dynasty crumbling before his eyes. But one man rose to steady him. A stern, old-school senator and general named Decius. Decius reassured Philip, predicting with chilling accuracy that the usurpers were weak and would soon be overthrown by their own men. And he was right. Both Pacation and Jotapion were quickly murdered by their own troops. The immediate crisis was over. To reward his loyalty and deal with the lingering trouble on the Danube, Philip gave Decius a special command over the Balkan provinces. He sent his most capable general to restore order. It would prove to be the single greatest mistake of his life. Decius was brutally effective. He marched to the Danube, crushed the Gothic invasion, and restored discipline to the legions. He was everything the soldiers wanted in a leader, a traditional Roman, a military man, and a proven winner. Inevitably, in the summer of 249, his adoring troops did what Roman troops did best. They hailed him as their new emperor. At first, Decius insisted he was still loyal to Philip. He sent messages to Rome swearing he had no imperial ambitions. But Philip knew better. He had played this game himself. There could only be one Augustus. The man he had trusted to save his empire was now coming to take it from him. The final act was set. Philip gathered his loyal legions and marched north to confront the man who was once his subordinate. The two Roman armies, the emperors and the usurpers, met near Verona in northern Italy. The seasoned, battle-hardened Danube legions of Decius faced the Praetorian Guard and other troops loyal to Philip. The clash was bloody and decisive. Philip the Arab, the man who had risen from the sands of Syria to rule the world, was defeated and killed in the battle. When the news reached Rome, the Praetorian Guard, in a final act of betrayal that mirrored the start of Philip's reign, murdered his 11-year-old son and heir. The dynasty he had fought so hard to build was extinguished in a single day. His reign lasted just 5 years. A flash of brilliance in the chaotic storm of the 3rd century. Was he a treacherous usurper who murdered his way to the top? Or a capable administrator who gave the empire a moment of glorious celebration before it plunged back into darkness? His story is a stark reminder that in the Roman Empire, the path to supreme power was paved with blood and ambition, and the throne was the most dangerous seat in the world. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the dramatic life of Philip the Arab, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next dive into the epic history of Rome. See you next time.